Ma'am, why do the tendrils have such a fucking chokehold on you?
It's time to take A Therapeutic Dose, a prescription-strength reality TV podcast that explores the intersection of reality TV and therapy. Possible side effects may include entertainment, strong emotional reactions, and/or laughter. Here are your hosts, Ramona Ramirez and Margie McGee.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Therapeutic Dose, where we meet at the intersection of reality TV and therapy. I am Margie McGee, and with me, as always, is my dear friend and co-host.
Hello, I am Ramona Ramirez. I am pumped AF to be here. Super excited.
We finally got like a breezy episode.
Yes,
finally.
thank
Oh my God, it was
you.
such a relief.
It was such a relief. It was such a relief. And honestly, if we were to say, all right, Kyle, you have been with Morgan for 2 years. You are with Morgan. The end. Talk to you next week. It's like that would be enough.
The stakes could not have been lower across the board. It's like, will Jade walk okay in the uninteresting fashion show for a store that has since closed?
Oh.
It's like, but I was so relieved. Again, we've had so many weeks of like daddies unaliving and, you know, marriages breaking up. And finally it's,
I know.
Will Jade walk and will Sutton, you know, she looked gorgeous. I loved her backless dress. Holy moly.
Amazing.
She's beautiful.
I agree. I'm not entirely sure the store is closed because I go on her website every once in a while, and she does have some things at least for sale. Has there been a for lease sign in the window of her boutique?
I don't know because it's sort of like tucked away off the road. I think I either read that or made that assumption, so don't take that as gospel. But all I know is that every time there's a scene in that store, I loved Sutton being like, I'm so busy with this fashion show. And meanwhile, her store is just like dead silent, full of clothes, empty of people. I'm like, you're not busy. You have like a really cool store to go to when you want.
She does.
But like, why would you come down from Bel Air ever to like fight the traffic? I totally appreciate her, but it's a fantasy land. It's not a real business. You know what I mean?
I do. I know what you're saying.
There's no world where that the rent in that area has got to be astronomical. And she sells like one shirt to a friend every 6 months. It's like, I don't know how she does it.
I'm so sick in the head that when I go on her website, I'm like, God, do I want that? Do I want that? Do I want that?
She curates like fine. They're fine. The clothes, everything's fine.
A lot of it is like sayings like name them or let the mouse go.
Ramona, I'll make one of those for you on like Redbubble or Zazzle, okay? And you can have it for $6 and it's fine.
Oh my God, Zazzle.
You don't need to pay $85 for a Sutton t-shirt.
But I don't even know why. Actually, some stuff is less than $85, believe it or not.
I do believe it because it's been in inventory for 6 years since the doors opened.
Oh my God. I have problems.
This is based on no factual information at all. It's just my...
No, but like, why would I want to support Sutton? You know?
She has her moments of being sympathetic. Like, I think the best thing happened with her mom, with that tech outage and her mom not being able to come. I think it would have been more challenging to have Reba. I just feel like she would have teetered into the pool at some point, or I don't know.
Oh, God.
So it all worked out for the best. But I was happy for Sutton.
I was too.
Even though, again, the stakes just could not be lower. Nothing mattered, but I was happy for her that she had a good experience. She appreciated her friends. Her mom really tried. And that's great.
I agree. Well, let's get to it in earnest. This is The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 14, Episode 14, Hemlines and Headlines. All right. We open with... Oh, go ahead.
No, I just loved your commentary on that. All right. That's fine. That's the whole tone of this episode. It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sure. Oh, and I needed it so bad. We needed a break. It's been a very heavy season.
It has.
So we have a little bit of throwaway montages. Bose and Liel are drinking tea. Garcelle and Jade are at LA Models to get his comp card. Sutton FaceTimes with Reba, where we learn her plans are to come to LA to support Sutton. And then we start the first scene, legit scene, with Kyle picking up her sister Kathy, and they're in the car. And Kathy asks Kyle, basically, we're revisiting the last 3 minutes of last week's episode where the pictures of Mauricio being embraced by a much younger woman in an airport in Mykonos have, broken the Bravo internet. It was July 17th when that headline came out. It was the day after my birthday. My birthday is July 16th, so I remember that date. Everyone's talking about how this is reverberating for Kyle. Kathy asked Kyle how she's doing. Kyle is shocked about the Pat pics, and she's still processing. She was in the car with her assistant/friend Jen when Jen broke the news, and Jen said she couldn't feel her legs. If I were in Kyle's position, regardless of whether or not I had been with Morgan Wade for 2 years and again appeared in a music video where I was quasi making out with her while wearing a BDSM for beginners harness. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Listen, I know nothing about that scene, but I just like to make fun of her. I lived in San Francisco for a few years, and they have something called the Folsom Street Fair, I believe every summer, where everyone, the point is you go either naked or clad in your BDSM wear. And so I feel like because of that, I have the authority to put down Kyle for wearing what she was wearing. I don't. I'm just going to say I don't have any authority on that. So please just don't give me any mind. I am not the alpha and omega about BDSM wear.
I'm sorry. That rant just made me laugh so hard. That was hilarious. I did not see that coming. And I enjoyed it very much. I did, when Kyle mentioned that Jen said her legs went numb when she saw the picture, I do know that feeling when you are the first one to receive information that is going to devastate a friend. There's a physiological response that happens in my body too. So I really felt that for Jen. And then like you, I felt less for Kyle because I'm like, I get it. Again, it's really hard to see that. And I didn't realize it wasn't just a picture. There was video of Mauricio and this girl and her perfect high butt walking down the street and
in a G-string under
she looked fucking great.
She looked incredible.
As she should. I'm a big believer, and I'm so glad I wore crop tops and short shorts. When I was in my 20s, I pushed the boundaries of how little clothes I could wear, and I'm so glad I did. It's so fun. So I'm all for this girl, and I really was not in the mood for all these women being like, she's half her age. It's so is Morgan.
So is Morgan.
Okay, can we just not be like this? But Kathy does say, she's like, I knew we'd eventually see something like that. And then Kyle boo-hoos about seeing it. I had to see it like everyone else on TMZ. It's dude, you put Morgan Wade on a call sheet last year. Is that better? It all seems terrible. It's time to get on with it. You're both getting on with it, and you're high profile people. So you're going to wind up in tabloids, whether you call the Paps or some weird Bravo fan at an airport takes a video.
It's true. And Kyle,
that's your life.
Isn't just first of all, I hope that everyone is aware that every time we see Morgan and Kyle, okay, I'm not going to say every time. I'm going to say that often when we see Kyle and Morgan in paparazzi pictures, again, within the last 6 weeks, I think they were leaving a popular brunch spot. They were spotted not long ago with Lisa Rinna outside of a Starbucks. Kyle knows too much about how the paparazzi works to not have staged some herself.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
sure.
Allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly.
If she didn't call him herself, you have to know when you go out to these places that if you go to a Starbucks on Robertson, you're likely to get, there are just certain places around town where if you haven't called the paparazzi, the hostess will once they see you have a seat. So
exactly. So where the hell was I going with this? Yeah. So but for 2 years, music video, getting a tattoo, immediately following the scene where she's rejecting Mauricio's attempt to kiss her while calling her love bean and saying, don't get more tattoos. You can see the ick all over her.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, it's weird. I just fluctuate back and forth between being totally impatient with her and then being remembering what my breakups are like. And there's a place in all of my relationships where I know this is not going to work long term. And it's so hard to let go of everything that was lovely about it. Mm-hmm. And it feels like this is the thing that pushes them out of that in between. And so be it.
Oh my God. I remember I was on and off with someone for around 13 years. And he was someone that I don't want to sound arrogant and say like it was up to me if we could be together or not. That's not true necessarily, but I knew that I was significant in his life. Let's say that. And I remember I had heard that he had started seeing someone, and I went to his Facebook page one night, as one does, and his profile picture was he and this woman that he was dating, like walking. And I can still remember the visceral feeling of my blood running cold, starting with like my sternum, blooming in my like stomach area, and then ricocheting all the way down my legs to my toes, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. Just this utter palpable devastation, rocking through my body. And so I can't fault her. I can't fault Kyle,
And it's
regardless of what she's seeing. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for being in another relationship while seeing those photos.
I mean, that's the piece that she keeps hoping that we'll all forget. And it's just
Dude.
like that. We can't forget it because you made it your story last season.
Yeah.
So that can't happen. But Kyle does say, she says, I don't want Mauricio to feel guilty because he can do whatever he wants. But then she's like, but why were you being irresponsible? And she wasn't. He wasn't.
Dude.
Like, it's the nature of being a high profile person. Like, he did the best he could going to a private airport, and he got pictures, whatever. And maybe the girl called it. I don't know. But I didn't like this when Kyle said, is Mauricio going to act differently toward Kyle now because whoever he's with now won't allow him to be friendly with Kyle? And I'm like, don't put that on the girl. It is always up to Mauricio how he is going to act with you. And he will leave a girl if she's a type who is like, you can't have any contact with your ex-wife. Or he'll stay with her. Like, my dad and my mom remained friendly for years. And then when my dad met the person he eventually married, she demanded such a mandate, and he followed it until he started drifting into dementia, forgot about it, and then reached out to my mom. And but it's been nice. They've had some nice old people conversations about things that only they can reminisce about, their days at Michigan Law School and like things that people in cognitive decline really thrive on. So that's been lovely. But that woman did put down the Band-Aid, and my dad said like, cool, fine. I guess my point is it's not about who Mauricio's with. It's about Mauricio, how he chooses to treat you. Do not say that some 25-year-old is going to allow him or not. Come on, dude.
That was disgusting.
Yeah.
I agree. It was.
You have daughters. Don't make that their problem either. Yeah.
I know. I agree. It was gross, which is, shocking coming from Kyle. Shocking.
I wrote,
Yikes.
Just get a lawyer and get on with it.
I mean, come on now. Yeah.
She did say that she thought about texting Mauricio saying, who is that? And then she caught herself and said, like, that's none of my business. And I just wrote, good work, therapist, life coach Jamie.
Also, you've been dating Morgan for 2 years.
Right, I know. See, she does gaslight me at that point in the scene. I forgot it.
Yeah, she gaslights everyone.
She had other people to text. It's so different. You're so right. It's completely different. Then we go to our next unlikely coupling of Erika and Martin Lawrence Ballard, and we see Erika's updated decor, and once again, it's fine. I don't know. It's fine. There were a couple of them that I had to rewind and squint to be like, what's different? Oh, the chairs are white instead of green. Like, I don't know. It's fine.
I liked the curved benches. They were kind of like a rust brown or a light rust brown. Mm-hmm. And I liked the round table. These are all living room things. I liked the kitchen table and chairs. But yeah, I wasn't blown away. I
Total
also
shrug and totally in alignment with the tone of this episode. Just like, all right. It's a little different.
She's gushing with Martin, and then in her confessional that, she's smiling, her razzle dazzle is back. And again, I'm not saying she doesn't deserve nice things, but I am saying it's hard for me to watch it. Basically, she spent time in the zeitgeist being a pariah, but she kind of, not that I am allowed technically allowed the right to say what I'm about to say. My opinion is that she did not show sufficient remorse or any restitution and really just obliterated the livelihood, the careers, the life of two independent designers. I believe one of them of color. I'm not sure if both of them are. And she didn't do any work through those years that she was a pariah. She just kind of bided her time until someone else came and took over that moniker. You know what I mean?
That's what she's doing again here, I think.
Exactly. And that's why I'm not judge, jury, executioner. On the cosmic scoreboard, I don't think she deserves this. It's not up to me. I'm just saying.
Certainly later in the episode, they show the headline that Tom Girardi is part of what he's being tried for is funneling $25 million into Erika's bullshit career. In that scene, she's talking about how, like, I don't look, I choose not to look. I'm like, you're just choosing to turn your back on those people, your responsibility, and what actually happened. Because again, if that had been my story, I would have been sick to my stomach until I found a way to make restitution. I do not know how she gets a Porsche and puts it on TV like that's okay.
I know. With a ribbon.
It's all so tainted. There's like a tsunami wave like right behind her, and I couldn't live like that. But she just has her back turned to it. She's able to let that not bother her. But
could not be me, as the youth say. Couldn't be me.
Mm-mm.
Her mom, Renee, arrives, and Renee meets Martin Lawrence Bullard, and her mom says that Erika did need a new vibe.
She's a mom. She's being a good mom.
You're right. All right.
And it did, again, later they have a conversation where I think any mom would be glad just to see their daughter on 2 feet and above ground.
You're right.
It sounds like Erika visited some pretty dark spaces. So I'm not a mom, but as an aunt and a godmom, I think I'd just be like, I'm so glad you're here. I really don't care about anything else. I'm just so glad you're here.
Okay.
So
you're right.
For Renee,
you're right.
I give Renee a pass.
You're right. They go see the hot spot, AKA the bedroom. And just, I don't know. Renee is a stickler for perfection, doesn't want to see seams, whatever.
My takeaway from this whole scene is just that Martin Lawrence Bullard is an incredible salesman because he tells Erika, like, you have an elevated vibe. You seem great. And then in the bedroom, he's like, this is really a room for you to star in. And I'm like, God, you figured out her language. You are speaking it to her directly, and you will always have a job. You're great.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a salesman.
Yeah. A photo of her above the bed, right?
I didn't see it.
Sheen Shea style. Whatever.
Well, speaking of, she shows up. What?
Not welcome either. Not unwelcome. Did
so
not
confused.
Need. It was not. My
brain short circuited.
Same.
But first, we arrive with Kyle and Kathy at the Bedford Breast Center. And I always do appreciate this, that Kyle gets this on the show pretty much annually, her mammogram. She tells us that Big Kathy, her mom, waited 5 years in between mammograms. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's supposed to be an annual exam. And by the time she was diagnosed, she was already stage 4, which is essentially terminal, with some exceptions these days as treatment gets better. But that's that's it. Stage 4 is as deep as you get.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that they do it. Kyle talks about doing it in spite of her anxiety. I love that last year she brought her friends. This year she brought her sister. Like, you don't have to do these things alone. You just have to get them done.
If you haven't, please schedule one. If you have the means, if you have the insurance, if it's been a year and you are of the age where they start recommending them, please.
And the technology is so advanced now. I'm sure I've told this story before, but on my first mammogram, they found a cancerous lump and they took it out and put a radiation pellet in my boob that dissolved on its own. Like, it's so not. So in theory, I had a breast cancer diagnosis, but I'm considered stage 0, which means like my boobs know how to make cancer, but they don't, because I had one minor surgery and a radiation pellet stuck in there. Like, it doesn't have to be so dramatic anymore because the technology, they found it when it was so tiny that they could just get it out. And I had like frozen peas on my boob for 3 days or something. And that was it. That was my recovery. Like, that's miraculous.
Totally. I turned 40 in Chicago, so I got my first mammogram in Chicago, and they found abnormal cells in one of my breasts. And I did a needle biopsy in Chicago. They confirmed that they were irregular cells. And then when we got back home to San Diego for a few months, that's when I had them removed, and they put a marker in my breast like, hey, this area makes abnormal cells. Keep a look on it. But so far, so good. These cells, my mom had the same thing. I don't know, but get your yearly mammogram, please.
So
Then,
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you.
I was just going to say that's the part of the scene that I liked. And then we just get back into Mauricio. Kyle dramatically is like, you know what I'm going to do right now?
Oh, my
I'm
God.
taking wife off of my Instagram bio. I'm just like, what is our world where that's the drama? And it comes up again at dinner with Garcelle and Dorit. I'm like, oh, my God. Okay, so.
It's like we're grown adults. We are grown people. And it's wild to me that I don't want to say it's wild to me that many adults take social media so seriously, and things like following and unfollowing. It's always cause for a lot of discourse on Reddit. It's
And
just,
it weirdly
I don't
has
know, man.
become indicative of relationship status. Like
Yeah.
she did that knowing that it would cause a public kerfuffle, which also, again, I understand. Like having gone through breakups, I did some weird shit too to try and garner sympathy or be righteous or I don't know, whatever. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I was heartbroken. You just do weird shit. But this was just so deliberate, and to do it on camera. And it was just like, again, after a full season of Morgan, if you didn't take wife down, like I don't know what we were waiting for anyway. So
seriously. Right. And like, I guess I had again, I found it in myself to, pat on the back. I found it in myself to have a sliver of compassion for Kyle. I have never been married to someone for 28 years or been with someone for 30 years. I've never been the mother of 4 to 5 children. I can't remember how many daughters she have. Do they have 5 or 4?
Don't remember.
I don't either. I know it's 4 at
it's
least, but
5. I don't know.
I don't know. Sorry to those daughters. My point is, my identity would probably get real. Like if there was a shift in those roles, I'm sure it would throw me for a significant loop, like I know me, but also like, okay, wife, housewife, also like, where's the slash where following it is, I've also been with Morgan Wade for 2 years and starred in a video where I'm wearing a low-key bondage outfit.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just the natural course of a breakup where the reality of it lands. So like, I know like Kyle obviously is into Morgan and they're still together, but Mauricio provides something very different for Kyle. Kyle's the grown-up in her relationship with Morgan, and she could always go to Mo with whatever she needed, and now he's in his own place. So he's not there to turn on the TV or open the French doors so she can get a couch out or whatever the hell she's trying to do. And I think she was really enjoying Mauricio wanting her and having Morgan. And now she has Morgan and Mauricio is gone. And I think she's pissed and confused. But that, again, it's just the next right step to get that relationship behind them.
Or clean it up with some significant legal boundaries.
Yeah, truly.
What was interesting to me about this scene was when Kathy said he's not in a financial position to pay someone off. And I was like, what?
Yes, he is. That's from a billionaire. He's so rich. Kathy is so chaotic.
She's so wild, man.
This whole episode, I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. You feel crazy to me. Like her energy makes me so uncomfortable.
Dude, I know.
Kathy then also tries to blame the woman for setting up the paparazzi pictures. And maybe she did, but like, it doesn't matter. Mauricio's the one kissing. Like, just, it is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Kyle says it, I need to move on. And then the radiologist comes in to report that both of their mammograms are clear. Regular people have to wait for their results. Well, I guess that's not true. When I had my first one, they called me. I was in the car for like 10 minutes and I got the call where they were like, you need to come in for blah, blah, blah. And I was like, huh? So I guess if something is not right, they let you know pretty quick. But normal people have to wait a few days to a week to get a radiologist to talk to them.
Yeah.
But cheers to the rich. They get to find out right away, and they deserve to. That they've been through a terrible trauma with that illness.
Totally. Agreed. Then we moved to Sutton's boutique with Garcelle. And I just want to note, that I loved Garcelle's denim jacket with stripes and the slight puff sleeves. I was like, ooh. And then I actually went down a little kind of, like a little thought, I don't want to say a spiral, but whatever the healthy version of a spiral is. I was, fantasy? I don't know. I was like, yeah, but what would I wear it with? I guess I would have to get a pair of white Levi's. Ooh, I do like white Levi's, because I was like, I like wearing a denim like snap shirt with jeans, denim jeans, a Canadian tuxedo for lack of a better term. But I don't think I could do a denim jacket that specific that was different from the pair of jeans I was wearing. Who fucking knows why I have those kinds of criteria, but. And I also want to note that Garcelle gets out of the car and thanks Colleen by name. Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, she's super consistent with that, and I love to see it.
Me too.
The scene had started with Sutton looking at shirt sizes. So here's a woman who's like so overcome with busyness for this fashion show, this high pressure, and here she is just like looking at tags. I was like, you don't do anything. You're not putting this fashion show together. I don't know. Sometimes people who pretend to be like so busy and so frantic and they're so important and they actually don't have anything to do and they don't know how to do anything. And instead of just saying, I want to learn how to put on a fashion show, they just pretend to be busy putting on a fashion show. Sutton, man, I really got to figure out what it is that everything but that's not something my dad did. My dad was like actually busy and did shit. But this was a whole new level of like, just stop it. Maybe it's just because I've worked for people who pretend to be busy, but I was part of the hired staff that actually sweat and showed up at whatever ungodly hour to put their stupid party together. And then they come in going like, oh, this party was so incredible, so hard to put on. It's like, that lady organized it. We set it up. We will clean it up. You're not, I don't know.
Oh my God. And she said something about the extra large.
Well, the sizes were out of order.
Oh, that's why she said it. Okay, good. Thank you. Because I was like, what do you mean the extra large doesn't need to be here? Of course it needs to be there.
Well, it was out of order. And she's like, this will drive someone with OCD crazy. And I was like, what is... Yeah. And then she tries to tell us at the fashion show, she's like, I've had my head in a laptop for 3 days straight. I'm like, no, you haven't. You were lightly pawing through clothes to look at tags. So come on. And then she immediately pours them a drink.
It's after 5.
Sure.
It's after 5.
Okay.
And you know what? I've said it myself. I've said it's 5 somewhere, and I've said, well, it's almost 5 or it's 5. Like, I don't know why we have this we're going to do anything to rationalize reaching for whatever is going to bring us comfort at that time. Fuck it. I can relate.
And then we get the news that Sutton's mom's flight was canceled due to that worldwide outage that grounded all flights. And yeah, then she just takes a swing at Dorit. She wants her fashion show to be fun and gorgeous with no bullshit. And she wants all of our friends to feel welcome. So to invite Dorit or not to invite Dorit? And I was like, she did the right thing and invited her in the group text. And
because producers probably were like, you need to invite Dorit. She's a castmate. She's on this cast. So
and also there's nothing going on in this episode. So it helps just to have the possibility of even just light tension.
Totally.
Then it's their turn to talk about Kyle. This is when they start age shaming this young woman.
Oh my God. And age shaming Mauricio. When Sutton says, Mauricio, get your dentures out. She's your daughter's age. Oh, Jesus. Come on. And there was also, like, in the previous scene, Kyle and her sister Kathy both saying, well, he's no Brad Pitt. I mean, listen, it's no secret that a lot of the Bravo fans have lusted after Mauricio and, Daddy, he and the other, what's the captain's name on one of the...
Jason.
Captain Jason, right,
yeah.
Right. Like, okay, they're not quite silver foxes, salt and pepper foxes. I don't know. But Mauricio's not, he's not PK for crying out loud. Do you know what I mean? listen, I'm not into Mauricio. Like, I think he's a little bit smarmy, but let's not. Okay, Brad Pitt's a piece of shit. Brad Pitt should not be the alpha and omega of what you compare yourself to for being a good-looking person. Like, he's ugly on the inside, and that's all that we should fucking think about. I want to remind everybody, get your rose-colored glasses off when it comes to Brad Pitt. My point is that there was a lot of look shaming. It doesn't work to look shame a woman, and it doesn't work to look shame a man or anybody.
No. And I think part of the Brad Pitt comparison, I think, was that like there's the celebrity status is not the same. It's like this guy is a real estate agent, like a good one, a pretty successful one. But no, I'm sure both contribute. But I think, I don't know. Anyways, Sutton says in a confessional that she thinks Kyle has been holding out for Mauricio to say this was all a terrible mistake. Again, this is where I had compassion for both of them. I was like, give them both time. They're doing it. They are breaking up. He has moved out. They are both seeing other people. And then this made me laugh when Sutton says to Garcelle, we've both been through it and there's a way to handle it like adults. Oh, is that right? When Garcelle sent an email blast to her husband's entire professional distribution list to say he cheated, is that Sutton spending all last year weeping about her long-term ex-husband leaving the country? Like, you guys don't handle emotional stuff is not handled in an adult way until it's behind you. So don't.
That's a really good point. That is a really, really good point. You're right.
I'm
You're right.
constantly shocked by these women who've been through it, who are like, why can't she just like get a lawyer and get it together? It's like, because you have to go through all of the ugly parts first. And congratulations to both of you for being so far on the other side of that you're not in touch with it. But again, I haven't been through a single breakup, whether it was, someone I spent a year with or someone I spent 8 years with, that hasn't had that. There's a spell when it first ends where everything is just wild because your identity is ripped away on that front. So
Yep.
Anyways.
Then we moved back to Erika Jane's house where she and her mom, Renee, take a bottle of rosé champagne to go drink on her refreshed cabana, which I was just like, whatever. Give me Bose's backyard a million times over Erika Jane's cabana situation. They cheers, and Erika again says that this remodel, this refresh of her living space is a symbol of starting over. Renee's proud of her because she knows what she's been through with Tom. And then Erika's confessional, she says, there were dark days. It was too much. There was no way out. And I'm proud of myself for not succumbing. Yes.
And
yes
she said because that was a real option.
Yeah.
And part of me wishes that people weren't so vague about depression and suicidal ideation. I wish she'd just said it, because hinting at it, it's helpful, but it also helps if you're in that dark place to hear someone who's had those thoughts and is so far on the other side that it looks like a life worth living. I remember a couple of years ago, Jennifer Coolidge gave an Emmy Award speech where she thanked Mike White. Basically, she just said, like, I didn't want to be here, and you have made it worth sticking around. She's very advanced in age by Hollywood standards, certainly. So I appreciated her saying that on a big public stage of like, sometimes it's really, really hard. And when you have good people in your life, you will discover it was worth it. So.
Yeah. I mean, SI is real, man. It's real. It's real. And we talk about mental health and therapy on this podcast. I will just say that I have more than a handful of experiences where I've had periods where it's like, oh, that would bring sweet relief. It would bring so much relief. And then I think about what it would do to my people. And thankfully, that's enough to prevent me from acting further.
I mean, and even just the darkness of like, there are no options anymore. I don't see a way a path opens up from here.
Yes.
Like that's a really challenging place. And I wish we could talk about that the way I mentioned last week, my therapist said when I went through a breakup, she would just say like, expect to act out, expect it. So like, if you can expect to have those dark feelings from time to time, if you're prone to them, then they're not as shameful and I don't need to take them as seriously. It's like when I learned about PMS, when I first started having my period, and I was like, why am I so upset, clumsy, and crazy 3 days a year or 3 days a month? Why? And then when a doctor said like, that's part of this cycle that will happen every month for most of the rest of your life, then I could calm down and just be like, oh, right. I feel like I'm going to cry. I'm taking everything personal, but this will pass in a couple days. Like if we could start incorporating that kind of feeling around suicidal ideation, it is so scary and the results are very dire if it's not treated.
Yeah.
But so much of it is the shame feeds on the darkness, feeds on the shame, feeds on the darkness, and it just becomes like a vortex of ass. So I too am proud of Erika for not succumbing. That would have been fucking awful.
It would have been.
It would have been worse than being able to bitch about her not giving the earrings back by miles.
I agree.
So I'll take this all day.
Yeah. And again, to drive home the point that mental health issues can prove to be just as fatal as issues from the neck down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. No, because obviously I know that the brain can, even if you don't have mental health issues, the brain can also. Oh my God, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
you know what I'm
it's
saying.
to be treated the same way you would treat a broken arm.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't just go out and do cartwheels because people say you should be able to do cartwheels.
Right.
Like if you're having a spell of dark depression or suicidal ideation, you need to treat it.
Yeah.
You need to tend to it the way you would a broken arm.
Yeah.
And let it heal. You can't force a bone to fuse faster than it can. And same with like mental illnesses. They require that kind of attention too. It's just harder. You don't get the impact break. At least in my experience, I don't have a moment where I'm like, oh no, it happened. My bone is broken. My brain is broken. Like it's insidious. And suddenly I'm like, oh no, shit.
Yeah.
I'm at the bottom of a hole. I didn't see it happening. I slid down here because it was fun to slide. And now it's become a thing that I have to like, whatever the equivalent of a cast and that level of healing is, which for me is like a big old team of therapists, psychiatrists, friends, 12-step support, family, like all the things.
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
the same way you would need help washing your hair if you had a cast on your fucking arm.
That's all I'm
People
saying.
show up and do it and then it's over. It does heal. So,
and to drive home the point that people are always happy to help. They are happy to show up and be of service to you. If you can't change the bed sheets because of your broken arm or whatever, do the shopping for you. If you're laid up with C-section stitches, healing from that, or if you're going through thoughts where like, it is too painful for me to exist in this plane. I want to leave it. I will feel relief from my relentless misery and torture and feelings of low self-worth. They are happy. They will drop anything to help you. I will drop anything to help my loved ones. I will drop everything and anything.
Anytime. Totally.
24 fucking hours a day, 7 days a week.
That was one of like my favorite things about Scandival is how Ariana's friends showed up for her immediately. Like she's someone who struggles with depression. They knew this was going to be a rock bottom moment for her, and they took turns sleeping over at the house. And she has said that saved her life, because she couldn't think clearly enough to not potentially not succumb to those thoughts. And look at her life now, Again, the pain that she had to go through was excruciating. But there is something opens up on the other side of that stuff. So anyways, this again, bravo. It's not trash TV, man.
Nope.
There's lessons to take away even from Erika and her boring design refresh.
Yes. It struck me when, she was saying that she wants to soak up every moment. And I wondered, and I'm projecting like my feet are firmly in middle age when I was in my 40s, I could still see, youthfulness in front of me. I'm middle-aged now, and my youth is in my rearview mirror, and it is making me really there are moments where I have a lot of panic about that. Grief, regret. You were talking earlier about how you were so grateful that you wore like crop tops and short shorts. Like I look back, back when I was, in my 20s, the only person that looked remotely like me or my body that was like loved by the masses was J-Lo. I would get compared to her a lot by white guys, which was, pretty effing ridiculous and now would be intolerable. I had a curvier body. I didn't have like rock hard abs, and that made me feel really bad about myself and less than. There was not really a body positivity movement. Obviously, I was in my 20s during grunge. I did not have a grunge body. I had boobs and butt for days, like I had hips. Like it wasn't cool then. And now it's okay to wear a crop top in any body shape you have. And I'm so sad that I let the standards of beauty hold me back from a life that I think, I can't know for sure, but in my fantasies, if I could go back, it would be different. Maybe it wouldn't be the answer to my problems. Maybe it wouldn't provide me the joy that I think it would. But part of what is so hard for me about middle age is like, damn it. I did have it going on back then, but I didn't know. I felt like everyone who dated me was doing me a favor or thought they couldn't get better, rather than like, oh my fucking God, she's a goddess. I am so fucking pumped to be with her. It was awful.
I did not mean to misrepresent. Like I wore skimpy clothes, but lest we forget, you and I met in Overeaters.
Right.
I was not thin and ripped. I was just young and I certainly didn't have self-esteem. That I just was hot a lot, and I really liked the beach, and so I just wore the clothes that made sense with that, and I'm glad I did. And also just for your files, like I remember seeing you in the first meeting I ever went to, because you had on the cutest skirt and just like white tank top. And I was like, oh, this woman has like the best style I've ever seen in my life. She's so cute. What is she doing in this god awful hot room with all of these like sick people? She has it together.
Oh my God. I can't believe it. That's hilarious.
And it's also just, it's such a glimpse at how much of the sickness is in, they say is between our ears. Like I'll look back at pictures and I'll remember feeling unforgivably fucking fat at that stage of my life. I remember that summer I worked at that place and I was so disgusted with my body and everything. And I look at pictures and I'm like, you're fucking adorable. Like and then there's other times where there are pictures from New York City when I thought I like looked great. And I was in the throes of my illness and I was struggling. But I remember this picture that was taken at like Ruby Foo's in New York City. And I remember what I was wearing and how hot I felt. And I see the picture and I was like, oh, that was right before you got into program because you were so not well. So anyways, it's all, as they say, a disease of perception more than anything else. So.
Right. Bravo is not trash. This is what I got from that scene. Yeah. That's what I gleaned from Erika going off on her little confessional about like wanting to soak it all up.
Yeah, I loved that she said that. And she said it was kind of cryptic language, but I was kind of into it, where she said she wants her next chapter to be her best because she's running out of time to tell this story. And it wasn't dark. It was just like urgent and excited. And if we hadn't just seen the headline of $25 million being funneled into her stupid career, I would have been able to take that like with a very clean conscience. But it is tainted, but so be it. She says, I have a whole new life to write. And I was like, yeah, we've still got our health and energy and there's a whole new life to write.
Agreed. Then we pivot across the city to go to Dorit and Garcelle meeting for dinner at Porto Villa. Again, Dorit thanks Luis for taking her drink order. And Garcelle arrives. She's not feeling well, so she doesn't really hug Dorit. Dorit says it feels like it's been at least 2 months since she's been able to answer someone's question, how are you, with I'm feeling well. Dorit moves into a confessional where she says, well, hell hath frozen over. I never saw the day where Garcelle and I would sit down, just the two of them. And I was like, you know what, bitch? I wouldn't sit down to dinner with you either. Garcelle owes you nothing. She owes you no dinners after the way you've treated her. Like, your audacity, you should be saying, oh my gosh, I'm so appreciative and grateful that Garcelle was willing to meet me for dinner. I've contributed to her discomfort around socializing with me, and my desire is that she'll see my intentions are true and that she'll feel like I really meant what I said when I apologized at Bose's wellness day. But no, we get entitled, Dorit. Oh, hell hath frozen over. Shut up. Shut up. Earn that dinner. You caused this riff. This is on you, Dorit.
But she did make the effort at Bose's event, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if I buy it yet, Margie. I don't know if I buy it yet.
But I think that's fair. I'm with you on that as well. But I feel like it can't be absolutes. It can't be you fucked everything up and now everything's fine. It has to be like the baby step of saying, I recognize that I have made you uncomfortable. Will you have dinner with me? Yes, we'll have dinner. And like, I don't think anything is going to come from this dinner that's going to make them mend fences, but I don't know.
It seemed to me like Dorit thought, oh, okay, I said what I said at Bose's wellness day. Obviously, and Dorit's in a really humbled place right now. Like, she's in a very
that's why I believe
humbling
her,
place.
Because
I think she wants something too soon, though.
Which is fine. I've been guilty of that too. Like, when you fucked up and the person isn't done being hurt and available to forgive you yet.
Okay.
It's so uncomfortable.
All right.
And in fairness, it did feel like Dorit was just trying to open the line of communication with Garcelle again and to try to help get some understanding of how they're both seeing Sutton so differently. And to Garcelle's credit, she conceded when Dorit said that Dorit says Garcelle has rose-colored glasses on when it comes to Sutton's behavior, that Sutton can do no wrong while Dorit is a raging bitch. And Garcelle goes, you were. And Dorit said, but at that party, and then we get the flashback to Sutton absolutely just money shaming her into the ground. And Dorit says she wasn't cruel to do that. And Garcelle says she was cruel. And I appreciated her for that. And Dorit then clearly stated what she wants, which is, I think saying something in the moment would be refreshing. And I thought that was fair. And you don't get to expect that to be so, but I don't know how else to approach a topic like that of like, I don't understand how you can defend this person. Can you understand why I'm furious? And what I would have liked to see happen is in the moment you turn to your friend and say like, bridge too far.
I think she did say something. She vocalized her what word?
Not at the dinner.
She
went, ooh, they had the camera panned to her face, but nobody spoke up. That whole table was silent. Jennifer Tilly didn't say anything. Everyone just let Sutton. Erika was the only one who said, you think you're bigger than her? Which was answered with doubling down even harder. Poor Reed. I know
agree.
My wallet's bigger than her.
Again, I think that Sutton took a really dirty turn that night. I think that Dorit was equally cruel at her barbecue. Oh, yeah, but then I have to look back at all of Sutton's behavior over the years. Ramona, you've got some work.
No, that barbecue was a disaster. Both of them were awful, but I don't know.
I didn't appreciate that she said Garcelle is doing Sutton's bidding and constantly defending her. Garcelle is nobody's lapdog. Garcelle also calls out Sutton, when they're just in their scenes together. Again, I've spoken about how I do like that Garcelle accepts Sutton warts and all, but I don't think that she's not out there doing Sutton's bidding. She's not Sutton's yes person, So I thought that Dorit was wrong in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I just think they're on a path here, and I don't know if it'll lead anywhere, but I appreciate them both showing up and like trying. Because it didn't get nasty. This could have been like, fuck you for saying this about Sutton and fuck you for not. It was just like, this is what happened. This is what I didn't like. And Garcelle was like, I see that. That was not kind. And also, I stand by that your behavior isn't great either.
Yeah. But in Dorit's confessionals, she seemed to not understand. It's like she has expectations of how Garcelle should be with her and at that dinner. I don't know if she's leaving herself room to consider other things that Garcelle might be thinking. And she is wrong to assume that she's Sutton's lapdog. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I was in that position with a table full of rich women, letting one of them call me poor in the middle of a divorce where I am about to lose everything and I have 2 children and no one to help me, I might look for the person, as Red Roberts would say, look for the helpers. And there was not one to be fucking found at that table.
Oh my God.
They all sat on their hands and ate their $2,000 baked potatoes and let Dorit be called poor. I think that's gross, but I also don't run in those circles. So maybe that's like standard fare. And I just don't know.
This is why I love you, friend, is because you're right. And I would never, if I was sitting at that dinner, I would have said, this is gnarly. We got to stop this. That's not okay. We need to stop. We need to stop. I don't have any friends that would do that, but I'm just saying that, like, if, God forbid. But,
And I did appreciate, Garcelle is like, there is sweetness in her, because in one of her confessionals, she said, you know, I think people are forgetting that Dorit is going through this divorce with 2 small children. It adds a level of difficulty to the whole mess. And she talked about how she went through her divorce with 2 children. They are now 16, and she is still struggling with the relationship dynamics that are born of such a thing. So, you know, she's... I don't know if they'll ever be friends, but I think they can get to a place of like respecting and understanding each other from a distance.
Totally.
You know,
they're going to be able
which
to
is
be
good enough.
coworkers for their durations as cast members on this show. At one point, they talk about Kyle. Garcelle brings up the pictures of Mo. She says a blog reported Kyle took off the word wife from her Insta bio. And in Dorit's confessional, she says, separated or not, who the hell wants to see pics of your ex with another woman? If Kyle was thinking of reconciling with Mo, like, is that even possible now? And it's true. I think we can all agree that seeing pictures of your ex with someone else, it makes your blood run cold.
Yeah,
truly.
It's the next phase of like, this is over when you actually are.
And also Kyle is with Morgan and has been with Morgan for years.
She flaunted a
that should
new
be the refrain
right.
after every single time we bring up the storyline. Yes. And Garcelle says then Kyle was papped at one of Morgan's concerts on stage on the side. And she says, is that Kyle's way of getting back at Mo? And then Garcelle says, if you don't want rumors, don't do a video, the one I always reference, and don't pick someone up from the airport. Yeah, dude.
Or also, I appreciated how she ended that. Garcelle just says, just say, let's move on. Instead of, then it's not scandalous anymore. And essentially that is what's happening in its own weird Instagram bio way. They are both now slowly getting to the place of let's move on.
Middle-aged people.
I don't know. Again, Garcelle sent an email blast to her husband's entire professional. Like, you don't act normal when you are going through this.
You're right.
Everyone's expectations need to like soften for a minute until these 2 get to the place where they're like, this is actually over and we are going to divorce and be done.
You're right.
Yeah. And I loved Garcelle for laughing about Kyle being so public with Morgan. And
Me too.
She's like, what is this? What are we even doing? This is all been going on. It's not news. And then we go to Sutton's fashion show venue. And Sutton and Avi are unpacking the car. Jennifer Tilly arrives. She looks adorable in like a t-shirt and jeans. I was in love with her. Oh my God. She was so cute in that moment. Kent is in the opposite of a t-shirt and jeans, dressed to the nines with a full blowout.
Loved it.
Oh, and then I wanted to ask you this because I don't know what's going on. Sutton said press is going to be there. Vogue, I understood. But what's WWD?
Women's Wear Daily.
Okay.
Women's Wear Daily.
And then she goes on to say that also in attendance will be celebrities and non-celebrities and buyers. And I did not see a single celebrity. The only person the camera gave us was Sheena Shea. So were there celebrities there?
There were probably Jennifer Tilly was there.
Socialites or something.
Maybe there were socialites. I'm sure it was stacked with influencers. That audience.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, just once again, the lowest stakes of any event ever, and I love it.
God bless.
And they set up and they rehearse the models, and then I don't have anything. We have the pre-show glam montage, and the only thing in that was this lovely moment of reconciliation within Sutton personally, where her mom waited at the airport for 13 hours. She gave it her very best shot to make it. She tried for 2 separate days to get on a plane to get out there, but it clearly was not meant to be. But Sutton feels like that effort is an expression of the pride and love that she's wanted from her mom for a lifetime. And I thought that was everything. That's all you can ask for. It's better than the actual visit, honestly.
I agreed. The only other thing I gleaned from that little montage is when Erika, Jane, and Renee are getting their makeup done. It looked like the makeup artists were using soft contour brushes to do their blush instead of a traditional blush brush. So I tried it this morning and I really liked it.
Amazing. See, it's everything. It's a teachable. The show is a teacher.
It is. Yep.
And then we have the arrivals to the show, and Sutton just looks absolutely gorgeous. That dress is stunning on her.
Amazing.
She
Color,
looks phenomenal.
cut, fit, stunning.
It's so funny because she looked gorgeous, and everyone on that runway was like, meh. Everyone just looked kind of dressed all right, But she looked like blow your hair back remarkable, and then the rest of the show was like, that's fine.
I think what they do is they take vintage clothes and they recut them. Or not even necessarily vintage, and they recut them into different styles. So while it wasn't, these were also clothes you could wear every day. You could, and I always appreciate a fashion show like that too. I could just wear that to go do my errands or go meet a friend for lunch. But
sure.
I understand what you're saying.
And bottom line, I thought Garcelle looked beautiful.
Oh my God, yes.
Kyle's ridiculous because she won't do the step and repeat because she doesn't want to face the press and answer questions about Mauricio. But I suspect it's because she does not want to answer questions about Morgan, because the most recent thing in the press was her standing on the side of Morgan's concert. And if it had just been about Mauricio, I bet you anything she would have walked the carpet, because then she could be a victim and be like, I'm doing my best. We're moving through it. But since the most topical thing would have been, did you go to Morgan's concert and be photographed for revenge? Then she looks like a homewrecker.
Totally.
Yeah. So she's like, no, not going to do it.
Again, let's not forget her tagline is "The hills have eyes and they're all staring at me." I'm not staring at you, Kyle. And if you do cross my line of vision, here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I would have said to you that night if you had crossed in front of me at the Godfrey at Sutton's fashion show. I would have said, ma'am, why do the tendrils have such a fucking chokehold on you? Every reunion, what is going on? And they're like these perfectly created, styled tendrils.
They looked like ribbon candy.
It is so annoying.
So
I can't stand the tendrils, and Kyle won't let go of the tendrils. Jesus Christ.
Then everyone, Erika, Jennifer Tilly, Bose, Kathy, all arrive. And then Kyle is talking to Sheena, which was just so my brain short-circuited. I was like, I don't understand what I'm looking at. And then Sutton, this is when Sutton drove me crazy. And she's like, I don't know where I am. My head's been in a laptop for 3 days. I'm like, has it? Because we saw you checking T-shirt sizes and having a cocktail. I think you're fine.
See, and I thought, I feel like I would be the same way that night. And I liked Garcelle validating her and saying,
Garcelle was lovely.
It's okay, dude. Yeah, it's a big night. Your feelings are very appropriate right now. And then a couple beats back, I made a note of this. In Dorit's confessional, she says, I'm curious if I'll get an apology if I'm just here to fill a seat. Shut up.
Fill a seat.
This night is not about you. It's about
just
Sutton.
Fill the seat.
You're showing up to your job. You're a cast member on this show. You know you're going to have to film with Sutton moving forward. Be quiet and don't make this about you tonight, Dorit. Sorry.
I did appreciate, I think it was Garcelle's confessional where she said for Sutton, there's a void of validation from her family, her mom and her ex-husband. And Garcelle's interpretation of this entire event is that it is to say, look what I can do. I'm going to prove you wrong. And then Garcelle says, and I think Sutton will always have that need. And that broke my heart because it's like, I think that's true. Without intensive therapy, you will always feel unworthy, unseen, unappreciated, invalid.
To take this back to therapy and take what Garcelle said back to my own therapy, obviously, I used to be really attached to the idea that I wouldn't be worthy of love or relationship, or I wouldn't be considered to be healed. You know, I always thought that I had to let go of my need for reassurance. Like that was a bad thing to have, you know, and if I needed to ask of that from whoever my romantic partner was, like, hey, I need to feel safe. And in order to feel safe, I need reassurance. And I thought for years that I should get rid of that. Like, oh, I need that. That made me not a whole person worthy of being in a relationship of the kind that I wanted, you know? And I had a therapist once say, Ramona, you might just be someone that needs reassurance. Some people might be someone that like needs a night to themselves. Someone might need you to do the dishes without being asked, to feel respected. You are someone that needs reassurance. And I remember, like, I can still feel it in my stomach. Like, I remember like being shocked. Like this was a revelation. Like, wait a minute. But all these romantic self-help books, like how to, you know, calling in the one, oh, Jesus Christ. I look back at the things I did and the way I thought about myself. I'm really sad. I didn't need to work that hard, I don't think.
But who's to say it didn't all contribute to where you landed?
You're right.
Like,
You're right.
I can't buy into all of that stuff was for nothing because then I really will have wasted my whole life.
You're right.
So
You're right.
I just
You're
have
right,
to
Marky.
feel like it informs everything, even if it's to be like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
I don't believe in this. But it's interesting what you're saying because it's that adult child of an alcoholic thing of I am not allowed to have needs.
Oh.
So when someone says to you, you might be someone who needs validation. It's like, oh, but I'm not allowed to have needs. What do you mean? I'm allowed to ask for that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's a revolution to hear
Yes.
that I'm allowed to be. Not imperfect isn't even the word. Just a human being with needs that may differ from other people. And I'll find the people I'm meant to be closest with when they're the ones who can accept those needs, if not meet those needs.
Yeah.
You know, because not everyone has to meet them, but at least if I can just be surrounded with people who understand, like, yeah.
I agree 100%. 100%. So that need might never go away for Sutton. And I don't think that she needs to be concerned with trying to rid herself of it. I think that it would behoove her to find a way to live with it where it doesn't cause her pain, but so be it. Yeah, that's all I was saying with what I
And
shared.
she's got a great friend in Garcelle who recognizes the need and knows that she's not the person who will ever be able to fill that or fix it. And so she's just there to like bear witness to her friend having a big night.
Oh my God,
I love
dude.
it.
Oh my God. And then Dorit goes up to Kyle and asks how she's doing. And Kyle says, like, well, she says she's doing okay while pushing a fucking annoying tendril out of her face. And then she does like the damage control and attempts to shift the narrative by saying, I know TMZ said I was at Morgan's concert to make Mo jealous. And then she's like, you know, Mo doesn't even get jealous. Shut up, dude. Shut up.
That was so obnoxious
It
and
was.
scripted and annoying. And then Kathy thinks she broke her knee for a second. Like, everyone's crazy.
I just to go back to that scene a little bit, the where Dorit and Kyle are talking, you know, Dorit says you can have a little discretion. And Kyle says you can have a little bit more discretion than that. And I wanted to just shake Kyle and say, is the discretion in the room with us now, Kyle?
Was it in the room last year when, once again, you did it with a call sheet?
You did it with a call
Morgan
sheet.
Wade was mic'd and made up for camera. So is that discreet?
Honestly,
what are you doing?
I don't know. I want to be clear, Kyle. What is the discretion that you are referring to that he could have had?
And also, I don't believe that Mauricio called the paparazzi. Maybe that young woman did. but it's not relevant. So he didn't act with indiscretion. He didn't act flagrantly. Something that was already happening that everyone suspected was happening was caught on camera for the first time. When you're separated and it's totally appropriate, it's fine.
Bruh. Yeah, and then we have the can someone just tell me, do people still find Kathy hilarious and charming? Like, is she still bringing comedic relief to this franchise? Or
I think some people do. I just find her inexcusably out to lunch.
Me too.
It's like, I get that you're like an eccentric billionaire, but like, go to your seat. Don't walk backstage. I love that model for just pushing her out of the way. I was like, she doesn't know who you are and she doesn't care who you are and she is there to do her job and you are in the way. So age before beauty does not apply in professional circumstances. Move it.
So fucking entitled and just without remorse.
Yes.
Without remorse, just like sits down and laughs at her antics. Just like, are you fucking kidding me? There are other people in this world.
And like you said about Dorit, don't make this about you. Kathy walking backstage 5 seconds when everyone is seated to pitch something, like Sutton said, from a 1950s fashion show where they used to announce what the models were wearing. It's just so inappropriate. It's so unnerving before any performance of any kind to have someone in your space make a weird, it's like, no, just have a seat and let this go how it goes. Like, and to invite my nemesis backstage to get on a mic and announce my clothes. Like, no, Kathy, Dorit should not come back here to announce the models and what they're wearing. You're insane.
It was so insane. It was so insane. The models start walking. They all look gorgeous. Kyle says,
real
go
quick,
ahead,
not
please.
before, I just have to mention it, or I wouldn't be me. Not before Sutton says that she's wildly nervous and sick to her stomach. And the drinks aren't helping. Chug's drink. I was like, girl.
Margie, it was
And then, again,
so...
I'm convinced one of the camera people is an adult child of an alcoholic because this was shot from a weird, great distance. It was not framed up. So I don't think she knew this was going to be on camera. She says, I'm nervous. I'm sick to my stomach. The drink's not helping. And then she pounds her drink.
Pounds her vodka, lightly dusted with some ruby red grapefruit juice cocktail.
Yeah.
Margie, it was astounding. It was a total behind the scenes documentary style shot of what Sutton did. I noticed that too. It was incredible.
Pretty hilarious. And just so unconscious. Like she's
so then her go
yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead. No. We're on to the fashion show.
And then her castmates can throw her mildly under the bus, Sutton under the bus. First Kyle says, and she sounds like mildly shocked. Well, this looks professional. Erika Jane says Sutton isn't going to win the CFDA new designer, but she applauds the new line. Producers ask Dorit in her confessional if she's impressed with Sutton's new collection. Dorit feigns shock. She leans back so hard, her heavy earrings like wobble and wiggle. And it's like, listen, where's Beverly Beach? Where's your wedding atelier line? You know, like, you're boring and basic, dude. You're boring and basic. You don't know how to recreate something from another piece of clothing. Just
neither does Sutton.
Oh,
someone
boy.
else did it, and she put her name on it, and that's great. But you know, look, like this whole episode, the fashion show was totally fine and completely forgettable, and that's great. For me, the highlight was how completely tickled Garcelle was by watching her son. She like could not, like, her legs were moving. Her smile took up the whole outdoor space. She was so happy and proud, and like I just loved it.
I did
and you
too.
could tell he was quietly proud in the way like a 16-year-old boy is. Like she's like, "Oh, where'd you want to learn to walk like that?" And he goes, "YouTube." Like,
I mean, and then we see a flashback. Like Garcelle walked for Calvin Klein. That was
in
her
New
first
York
show.
City.
In New York City in
Her first show.
1984, when
Damn.
women who looked like her were rarities. They were like, it was not the norm. I just fucking love Garcelle.
And she said she was so nervous when she did that, which made her so proud of her shy boy.
Yeah.
For like getting up in front of people and
He's good.
taking a big walk.
He's real good. As someone that I can't stand the Nepo models, I would like somebody to tell me why Kendall fucking Jenner is considered a supermodel. Supermodels are Linda Evangelista, Christy Turlington, Paulina Porizkova, Naomi Campbell. Oh God, I just forget Webb's first name. Tish Goff. My point is, these quote unquote models that are considered supermodels now. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm not like coming from that like boomer light place. Like, I don't get the new music of today. I'm just saying I don't think anybody is special right now, like the real supermodels were. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell me why I'm wrong, or open my mind.
Beautiful, but I agree with you.
Beautiful by a scalpel.
Maybe, but so is everyone now. You know,
I don't think the original supermodels were.
Of course not. No. That wasn't available. They are now.
I mean, yeah, but that's, to me, I don't know. And I'm not putting down plastic surgery. I'm not putting down work. I'm not. I'm just saying that it seems like all you need is like a big Instagram following.
Yes.
None of these people look unique to me. I don't understand, unless designers are like, well, we got to do what we got to do now because Instagram and followers are the way we're going to.
Because they have to sell their clothes.
I think it's reprehensible and terrible and lazy and sad. I think it's sad.
I don't disagree.
Oh my God. Sorry.
But it's how like it's so complicated. It's how art is functioning right now. It's like,
oh God.
That's why when TV shows are being cast, they look at people's followers. And I get it. But if the TV landscape is so spread out now that I understand why, if you can guarantee 1 million followers, 2 million followers by casting this person, you can, like, I get it, I guess. It's commerce. I don't love it, but I'm trying to get into acceptance because I don't understand that world. And so I maybe don't have total appreciation for what those talents are. So I don't know. But I'm with you. There were, like, again, the models that RHOBH photographed were just of a different. But maybe that was because of the age I was, and I wasn't yet a woman. So I looked up to those women as like, that's the most beautiful thing you could ever be. Any one of those like 5 original supermodels was like, are you kidding?
Claudia Schiffer. Yeah. Like Tatiana Petitz.
Naomi Campbell, all the ones in the George Michael Freedom video. That's the video where I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I see what lies ahead for beautiful women. That's gorgeous.
Ay.
And then Sutton gives a speech where she hopes her daughter is proud of her. And then she makes this vague mention that her mom was supposed to be there but couldn't make it. And I was like, can you tell them she missed a flight and didn't die? Because when you say that an 83-year-old was supposed to be there and isn't, I got like panicky for everyone in the audience. But she was hoping that everyone was proud of her. And then everyone congratulates her. It's very sweet. And Sutton says, it feels really great. All of these women have inspired me in ways they'll never know. I'm so grateful to call them my friends, even Dorit. And then we go out on like a little sweet grace note of a photograph of the group. And that's it.
Thank God.
So breezy. I
know. It was breezy. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. My God. Yeah. Friend, what else did you watch this week?
This week I watched The Traitors, which I just love so much. The finale is tonight, I guess.
I'm so behind. I'm like 4 episodes behind.
You're fine. Don't worry about it.
I don't. Yeah, I'm worried that someone's going to spoil it and like tell me who's been kicked off.
It's still worth watching just for all of the stupid drama. It's so great. I watched Southern Charm and I watched the Oscars, and I think that might be it. I didn't have a big, heavy TV week this week. How about you? What did you watch?
Yellow Jackets.
Oh God, I still haven't started.
Oh my God, I love that show. I don't care. I know season 2 got a lot of. People were like, what? And I understand why, but like, I love it. I don't care enough. I don't care enough to be critical of the shows that I love. I don't care if they have bad seasons. I don't care. I'm just glad it's back. Can we just be grateful that shit is back, you know? So Yellow Jackets, caught up on White Lotus. Oh my God. I love season 3. I wasn't sure, but I'll tell you when I talk about my antidepressant why I changed my mind. I felt sick over the weekend. Remember last week I was chugging that ginger tea that my mom swears by to prevent colds. I ended up like just feeling like shit. So I started season 7 of Love is Blind. I forgot to watch it. I'm right at the episode where the weddings are going to happen or not happen. Who knows? But I'm really enjoying this season a lot. I watched the Potomac reunion And then I watched the documentary. It's just a 2-part mini docuseries on Netflix called The Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist, the one about Belle Gibson, the woman that said she cured her cancer through green drinks and other healthy kinds of.
Yeah. The cookbook,
Yes,
right? Didn't
the
she have
whole
like
pantry cookbook, right? Jesus H. Christ, with these Scamandas and these Belle Gibsons of the world. And I watched the Oscars, and Adrian Brody and Robert Downey Jr. are the kind of men, especially Robert Downey Jr., again, is one of those recovering alcoholics that makes me want to run screaming from the room. Arrogant, gets a kick out of himself, thinks he's hilarious and charming, and everything I say is just, I can't stand that man. And what the F was Adrian Brody going off about? I couldn't stand it. And then Hulu fucking cut off the end for everybody that was watching via Hulu. So anyway.
I don't remember what Adrian Brody was talking
Exactly.
about. I tuned out.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Sure
Exactly.
started petting the dog or something. I don't know.
What was your antidepressant this week, friend?
My antidepressant was yesterday, starting this new session of this class that I teach. The class has like a poetry element to it. And I thought, like 4 years ago, I thought I hated poetry, hated it. I thought it was pretentious and stupid. And I've since come to like love it. So I love prepping for this class because I get to like read lots of poetry and still hate some of it and then find like weird, rare gems that serve the purposes of this class. And then I just loved teaching the class. It was the first day and everyone was wonderful. And I just was so energized and inspired. And I just love teaching that class. So it was a legitimate antidepressant. So there you have it.
I love it. I love
How about
it.
you?
Well, finally, I actually have some instead of like, at the big last month, there were a couple of episodes where I was struggling to find out what an antidepressant I could pick from. I'm continuing to gain benefits from meditating imperfectly. On Saturday, I had an experience where I got an email. I'm in this situation where I am trying. Well, I'll just talk about it right here. Remember, like about 5 months ago, I had a Morpheus 8 treatment where I was
That long ago?
Yeah, it was Halloween day. I had that
wow.
Morpheus 8 treatment. My face, like, I got a full allergic reaction. Face and neck, like, blew up. I still have like post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation from it. My point is that I have been pursuing a refund from this plastic surgery office, and I realized that I have been feeling like bullied and coerced, and like I was beholden to them. And on Saturday, I got an email from them. And it gave me this like panicked feeling where my like scared, terrified child took over and reacted. And all of a sudden I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I put on a meditation. I put on a Tara Brach meditation that she focused on rain, recognize, appreciate. What's the A? Oh, shit.
Accept.
Recognize, accept, investigate, and nurture. So my point is that I did a meditation. Instead of like starting to doom scroll to check out, I even had a thought like, oh, there's Doritos in the cupboard. Like instead of just sitting in my bed, just like racked with fear around this situation that I felt I had no power in, I did rain.
Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture.
Thank you. Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture.
Yeah.
So I did rain on what was going on. And I was able to calm down. My adult self came back in the driver's seat. And I was like, I finally realized for the first time since this whole situation started, Ramona, you have agency in this. These people are not the boss. You're not beholden to them. You don't need to follow their way of, wrapping up this whole fucking fiasco. And I was so proud of myself for choosing a different way. Like, that's what I want to do moving forward in my life. So it shifted everything, and I have been partially refunded, and I have pushed back saying, oh, it's a full refund. So, TBD. And then last night I did ketamine at home for the first time. It had been a really long time since I'd done it. I asked my therapist, what intention should I set for this? Like, because you're supposed to set an intention, like what's your goal out of this out of this journey. And she's like, I think you should focus on going from mindful to mindful, meaning going from the monkey mind, the anxiety thoughts, the panicky thoughts that like are constantly in a like interlocking, tangled chyrons in my brain, to the kind of thinking that I had on Saturday when I got the email that sent me into fear and spiraling and outcomes that made me anxious. And so I did that like TBD, but I realized like I went to Thailand in my trip. Like I went to the White Lotus and I met with the characters, and I understood them. I understood their thought processes, their current states, if you will. And then when it was done, I was like, Josh, I need to start watching season 3. I need to start rewatching season 3 of White Lotus like immediately. And I was kind of bored with the first 2 episodes the first time I watched them. And then last night when I watched them after my trip, I was just like, I cannot wait to see what I'm so invested. These people are complicated and this is riveting. Yeah, like who fucking knew, man? Art really affects me. Prestige TV is my favorite art medium. And I'm just glad Yellow Jackets and White Lotus are back.
White Lotus is so good this season.
I know.
So those 3 women are just
my God.
So
oh my
good.
God.
Anyways,
yeah.
the whole cast is amazing.
It is.
So it's just
in the backdrop, my God.
Oh my
it's
God.
Sumptuous and
those,
amazing.
like, hammocks in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
I know.
What?
Yeah, so that was, I did an actual antidepressant last night. And again, it was a very informative, profound trip at home. And it lasted a long time. And it was really fun to have that break and go on the journey that my brain wanted to go on. Anyway, that was it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, finally, a week where I don't feel like wrung out
I
after
know.
watching this show. This was a delight. And yeah, everybody take good care of yourselves.
Yeah, take good care of yourselves this week in whatever way feels nurturing to you. However imperfectly you do it. Give yourself permission to do it imperfectly, and then you might actually be able to do it. Margie, when you gave me permission last week to meditate imperfectly, I did it. And now I'm listening to like meditations and talks about meditation as I fall asleep at night instead of podcasts, except for one night I was like, you know what? Watch What Crappens feels like a loving, nurturing thing to listen to as I drift off to sleep. And I let that be it. I let that be my imperfect meditation for the day. So anyway.
You know, in 12 Step Rooms in the Big Book, there's a line that says, half measures avail us nothing. But in one of the 10,000 programs I'm in, they say, half measures avail us half. They're like, just do something. It doesn't have to be perfect or complete. It just has to be something different.
Yes, I love that.
I've gotten real on board with half measures avail us half.
I love
I think
it,
that's
Margie.
Great.
I do too. Thank you again for saying that last week. It changed my perspective in a way I really needed. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you have if you're on your podcast platform and you're scrolling to find us, or you're scrolling to look at the episode and it says rate review, please, we would really appreciate it. Even if it's just hitting the stars, and pass it on. Take care of yourself. Thank you for hanging out with us this week.
We'll talk next week.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Ramona and Margie are obviously not doctors and do not provide medical advice. Their content is intended to be used for entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be, should not be interpreted as, or used as a substitute for medical advice or a diagnosis of any health or fitness problem, condition, or disease, nor a recommendation for a specific test, doctor, care provider, procedure, treatment plan, product, or course of action.
My mom isn't a doctor.